Namaste. I am Dr. Neil Kulkarni, and yesterday I gave my speech at Lonavala Yoga Institute's ML Garote Memorial Conference, and my speech was not complete. I actually reached one milestone in that speech. So many people ask for the remaining part of that speech, which I will go give now. Just to repeat that the topic of that speech was what is happening with Hatha Yoga nowadays, and in terms of what really Hatha Yoga is and where is the problem. So that is the topic ultimately we chose. So just to repeat the last point of yesterday's speech, at the end I'm going to summarize the entire thing. So even that summary will be enough for some people. But yesterday we reached one point and it is called Hatha Yoga. So in Hatha Yoga, what they have done is classical yoga called as Raja Yoga, which is defined by Patanjali Yoga Darshan. This Raja Yoga is defined by Patanjali Yoga Darshan, and basically in this the main practice is meditation. All other practices are to prepare for that meditation, and by performing meditation you reach samadhi state, and after that optionally you go for kaivalya state. And here the objective is get rid of sorrow completely from the life, get rid of dissatisfaction completely and permanently. So for that one has to reach kaivalya state. Before reaching kaivalya state they must get self-realization, otherwise they don't feel like detaching from the material world. So once they get a samadhi state by following Ashtanga Yoga, they are now able to understand the self or self-realization in the Nirbija Samadhi. After that, they get disinterested in the material world and they only try to exhaust the previous karma, which is given in the 4th chapter of Patanjali called Kaivalya Path. Once the entire previous karma is finished, they reach Kaivalya state and they are totally out of dissatisfaction. This is what the Raja Yoga is. So the practice of Raja Yoga deals with meditation, which means training of the mind. This is an extremely difficult practice for most people. And more difficult practice is Jnana Yoga, where they want to reach only by the Vivek. So Hatha Yogis who are extremely powerful yogis called Natha Yogis, and these yogis already know this whole thing. It's not that they don't know that. They are actually master of the yoga completely already. They know everything. But they are extremely compassionate for the common people. So they came down one step from the mind, which is energy. Prana. So in the Hatha Yoga, what they are doing is they are taking a complete control of that prana. So they start with the breathing, because breathing is immediately related to prana. In fact, the oxygen which comes from breathing is called prana vayu. Anyway, once they take the prana through breathing, then they try to reach the nadis. After reaching the nadis, they come to know the prana which is flowing in the human body. They try to get control over all the nadis, and ultimately they want to force that prana into Ida and Pingala, and then from Ida and Pingala they want to force it into Sushumna. So forcing the prana into Sushumna from Ida and Pingala, this process by force is called Hatha. Forcing the prana vayu into Sushumna as a Kundalini. This force, the force prana is called as Kundalini. Now, once this Kundalini reaches the top part of chakras, that is the final chakra. When the chakras are the energy centers. So now I'm going to explain to you what the Hatha Yoga does. See, this is the prana, this final chakra, where the prana reaches here, your mind becomes completely peaceful. And just before that, you will hear sounds from your system. These are not the sounds from outside. When you hear this nada, you are supposed to meditate on this nada called nada anusandhana. So this is exactly same as Patanjali's. And this focusing on nada is called Raja Yoga in Hatha Yoga. So only difference between this Raja Yoga and this is, in Patanjali's yoga you take any object, whereas in Hatha Yoga you only use the nada which you hear. Now after that you go to Kaivalya. So this is the most important practice. This pranayama is the main practice. And Nadanusandhan is the most important, because without Nadanusandhan, whole Hatha Yoga is totally useless. It is like doing BA first year and second year, but not completing fourth year to get the BA degree. So your degree is not complete now. Similarly, Nadanusandhan must complete to go to the Samadhi and Kaivalya ultimately. So this is where we stopped yesterday. Now, my objective will be to describe this Hatha Yoga in little bit more detail. So I'm going to give this a sort of semi-detailed version of Hatha Yoga, but this will be extremely succinct and it will be a complete one and also accurate in my opinion. See, I told you that the Hatha Yoga books are written in a poetic language. Whether they are written for keeping secrecy, otherwise they'll go in bad hand, whatever it is, I don't want to know that. But they are confusing, no doubt. And they are using a lot of upama, alankar. And that's why it is becoming complex, and sometimes they make exorbitant claims. For example, in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, it says if you master Mayurasan, you will be able to digest poison. But it's not possible. Anyway, there are so many other claims like that. It also says that you will become immortal, but it is impossible to become immortal, because body is always mortal only. You can make long lived, but you cannot make immortal. So now what I did was, I found that all the Hatha Yoga texts are having the same problem. Plus, Hatha Yoga is extremely complex to practice. It's impossible to practice, because all the requirements for Hatha Yoga study are given. Those I'm not going to mention. But one I can mention, that the environment has to be extremely suitable for studying Hatha Yoga. That environment is not available at all in India. Some European countries, that atmosphere is available. But the most important thing is having a correct guru, which is not available in the Western country. So this whole thing is messed up and it's not possible to do that. So what has happened is, I need to give you a very good understanding of Hatha Yoga. So when I thought about it after teaching 2-3 extremely serious students, all of them are Europeans. And I came to know that I should now do something about it. So what I did was, I wrote Hatha Yoga Sutras. That means I wrote a scientific text, just like Patanjali Sutras, to encapsulate the Hatha Yoga in 28 sutras. So now, using those sutras, which I am not giving you now completely the commentary, I am going to tell you exactly what you need to know for Hatha Yoga. First thing you have to understand is that in Hatha Yoga, you first do asana practice. This asana practice contains different yogasanas, not Patanjali's yogasana, just sitting, but these are different yogasanas, and you also do some breathing exercises, etc. By doing this, your body becomes sufficiently fit and also healthy, sufficiently fit and healthy. By this process, your body is now ready to do pranayam. Along with this, you must address the diet. There is diet given in Hatha Yoga, which is not perfect diet. It is I will give it 50 out of 100. But it is a good diet. And at the time of Hatha Yoga creation, the whole environment was non-polluted. So even that 50% diet, correct diet, is more than 100% today. So you have to understand the diet is the most important part of that practice. Another thing is, we are already assuming that the environment is good, water is good, and good teacher is available, etc., etc. Now what we are going to do is, we assuming that the first practice is asana, which will make you body fit for pranayam and healthy. Fit and healthy. These are two important words. Remember these two words. Fit and healthy. Then after this, they go into pranayam. So the pranayama practice deals with the energy in the nadis, but that's impossible because you cannot perceive that energy immediately. See, you have to understand one very, very, very important thing in this, that there is something called Hatha Yoga anatomy. This anatomy has some commonality with modern medical anatomy, but it is not the same. Medical anatomy is studied by watching other person's body, most of the time by dead body. So that modern anatomy first is watching what the dead body is doing and not what the live body is doing. So that anatomy has a big flaw. It does not work. You have to know what the live body is doing. But anyway, modern anatomy is very useful for material part of the body. However, for yoga, Hatha Yoga, that anatomy is almost useless. For Hatha Yoga, you need Hatha Yogic anatomy. And Hatha Yogic anatomy is not known by watching other person's body. So therefore, you will find that how did all these Natha Yogis, which I call great people, how did they come to know that there are chakras and nadis? What they did was, as I told you in the past, they mastered all the other yoga first. So they were already a master of meditation. And when they went into meditation, they made use of that meditation to watch the body from inside. And that watching the body from inside, using meditation, they reach what is called nadis, prana, kundalini, chakras, etc., etc. How many petals it has, what color. So you cannot know these by watching any pictures or putting pictures on the wall or by doing medical anatomy study. Therefore, you must develop a meditative capability right from beginning. That means whether you are a student of Adi Yoga or you are student of Iyengar Yoga or you are student of whatever yoga, you must start meditating. Means you must have some kind of meditative inclination. I was extremely lucky, as I told you in the first part, that I automatically started meditating. But without meditation, you will not know this anatomy. But anyway, I am telling you that anatomy, that this pranayam deals with energy, but they cannot perceive it. So they start with the breathing. So they do what is called breathing pranayam. And after breathing pranayam, they reach the energy. Once they reach the energy, they forget the breathing part and they focus on only nadis. And they try to control that prana, and then they bring that prana into that middle part. So this pranayam ultimately ends in kundalini rising. Now kundalini rising doesn't mean that something is sleeping and rising, etc. Sleeping only means that sushumna was not sufficiently active. It is always slightly active. Without sushumna, one cannot live. Actually, most of the people do not know what sushumna means. So now I will tell you that. See, mana has to do with the mind. Su means good. So su means happy or peaceful. So sushumna is the part which directly deals with the mind. So I told you in the past that when they came to Hatha Yoga, they stepped down one step below the mind, which is the energy. Now from energy you have to go to the mind. So how to go from energy to the mind is currently the energy is used for the bodily process. Do not use it for bodily process. Bring that energy into Sushumna. As soon as that energy goes into Sushumna, you become aware of the mind. And mind has all those powers. Therefore, when the that Kundalini goes through one center to another center, more and more powers, which are basically mental powers. See, all the powers described in Patanjali, they are mental power. When you do the Sanyama Jaya, then you can get the powers. And you can apply the Sanyam to different powers. That is given in the 3rd chapter of Patanjali. But anyway, these Kundalini, when it goes, different energy centers, they become awakened, means active. Awakened means active. And due to that, different powers come. All these powers, you should not be attracted. But they must come. They must come. If they do not come, that means your Kundalini is not arised. So if somebody says that my Kundalini is arised, they should be able to demonstrate certain powers, whatever that level they want to show. There is one style called Kundalini Yoga. It is only a name of the style. They are not having any Kundalini or any powers. Anyway, once this Kundalini reaches the top of the those chakra system, their mind becomes peaceful. That means when the Kundalini is flowing through the Sushumna, your entire mental development is getting completed and you reach a peaceful mind at the end. So this is a very important state, and this in Patanjali is called Chitta Prasadanam, and in the Hatha Yoga it is called Unmani. Unmani means mind is totally used, not for outside. Unmani. Or it also called as Raja Yoga Pada, means the starting of that step of Raja Yoga meditation. Now after this, during this process towards the end, you get this Nada Anusandhan, which I told you. You must get those nadas. Different nadas for different psychologies. And whatever it is, that nada you have to not worry what other person is getting. Whatever nada you get, you meditate on that. That is called Nada Anusandhan. So the next process is called Nada Anusandhan, means meditation on that. This is the most important practice in Hatha Yoga. That means if you are able to do Nada Anusandhan now, forget pranayam, forget kundalini, and forget asanas. If you are able to do pranayam, already very good, forget asanas and start with pranayam. And if you are already realized, don't do any yoga at all. If you are already realized, you don't do any yoga practice, you will never see Lord Krishna doing headstand. It's not possible. Rama may be doing headstand because Rama is not a full yogi. But only Krishna is the Yogeshwar. All other yogis are not full yogis. All other yogis, including saints, are not full yogis. Only Lord Krishna is the full yogi. Now what happens with the saints will come later. Now what happens is that Nadanusandhan will take you to this final state, and then during that process is almost same, that they become extremely compassionate for people and they try to help the people, and then they live in a Jivan Mukta state. That means they are liberated while living, and they use those powers also. Like suppose they find that somebody in Dehradun is having a problem, they will immediately go to the Dehradun. My father's guru's guru had that siddhi. Within 2 minutes he will be in another place. And Shirdi Sai Baba is already known to be in many places at one time. So anyway, my father's guru had a siddhi of entering a dead body, which is already experienced by my father directly, which is there in his book. But what I am saying to you is that you must get the power and you must hear the nada. So this is the completion of Hatha Yoga. This is what is called Hatha Yoga, and fortunately or unfortunately, it gives you health and fitness at a very high level, because you are penetrating body at a very subtle level, not ordinary level. It is like going endoscopy. Not just doing little bit weightlifting, but going inside the artery and seeing where the plaque is. So in the Hatha Yoga, you go very deep into the body and you know how to address different parts of the body, and therefore you can use it for health and fitness. And you also start looking extremely beautiful because it says Rupa Lavanya Bala Vajra Samvanatvi uh, Kaya Samvat, means Kaya Sampat, means bodily wealth. Kaya Sampat. So in Patanjali, in Hatha Yoga also it describes that you will become extremely beautiful, you will be attractive and all that. But these became extremely important in 21st century. And those yoga teachers who gave this health and fitness, they became the most powerful teachers. Powerful means most famous and most wealthy. That's all it means. Doesn't mean most powerful in the yoga. So they became powerful and all these other things became blindsided. And therefore all other people who do not have enough money or they don't look extremely beautiful, like Ramakrishna Paramahansa doesn't look extremely beautiful. So those were blindsided and these became the famous people. And that also I do not mind. That is their luck. I don't mind that. The problem is that people started defining the yoga as health and fitness. And that's why today's all health and fitness, RYT 200 or demonstration or YouTube or websites, all are demonstrating health and fitness. And when they advertise also they say, if you do this, diabetic will be cured. If you do this, stress will be reduced. If you do, but all those are side benefits and all those are side practices. Real practice is given here, and now I told you that this Hatha Yoga practice is very complex because of environment and getting a teacher. So now I explain to you what Hatha Yoga means. Okay, now we go to the next step. See, what I want to tell you is we covered yoga in chanting mantras, Sanhita. Then we covered yoga in Upanishad. Then we covered yoga in Bhagavad Gita. And we also covered yoga in Patanjali. These Bhagavad Gita, there are 4, 5 yoga. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Then in Patanjali, that is called Raja Yoga. And then we covered now Hatha Yoga. Now I will tell you one very important milestone in the history of yoga called Adi Yoga. This is not Adi Yoga of Sadguru. This is Adi. Adi means Adhikrut, authentic. Why it is authentic? Because it is written after practice. First learning, then 30-year practice, and then it is written in Adi Yoga system. So in Adi Yoga, what is happening? That's what I am telling you. See, what is happening is Adi Yoga is 21st century yoga. So in 21st century, what is happening is some people are interested in health and fitness. They are not interested in any spiritual progress. Some people are interested in only spiritual progress, but not at all interested in health and fitness. Some people are interested in yoga because they want to get stress relief. Some people want to do yoga because they are having some either physical or psychological problems. So they want to use yoga for that. And some people, they want to get better placement in life. Like they want to become better in studies in school. Or they want to pass UPSC exam. They want to become IAS officer. Or they want to become Prime Minister of India. And they cannot become good Prime Minister unless they do yoga like Modi is doing. So there are various people wanting different things and they are going to the same yoga class. Somebody wants to lose weight and somebody wants to gain weight, they are going to same yoga class, so same yoga exercise class. It is not possible by same exercise to gain weight and lose weight both. So what I decided was, I first want to know what they want. And ultimately everybody wants only one thing, that is called happiness. So they want happiness, and what they want, then we want to find out what is that needed for that. What is their background? Then we suggest what is the yogic practice they should do. They all should do different practice depending what they want. Once this practice is done, they will of course want another want. Then again this practice, another want. And then another want. Like this, their wants, at one point they will want only samadhi or spirituality. Only then they should do the spiritual practice. Otherwise their practice will never be spiritual. If they are wanting money, or they want to make institute, or they want to help poor people, or they want to do work like Mother Teresa for helping poor people, they will not get spiritual realization. They have to come to a point where they want to do spiritual realization only. That is why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling him that even if you go out of this battlefield and you go into forest, then what will happen is, in the forest you will start thinking about war, what is happening in the war, or you will create another war there. That exactly what the white races did in the world. White races in the world, wherever they went, they create war. United States today has everything they need materially, but they always create war, because war creation is their want. Until they finish that want, they will not go to spirituality. They can talk a lot. So they are following Christianity, but Jesus Christ is not creating war. Whereas the Republican Party is telling that we are Christian, but we are creating wars. And we want Venezuela, we want Denmark, and we want all this crap. So they also had civil wars. So anyway, they have, at one point they will want samadhi and spirituality. Until then, their practice cannot be called spiritual. And then they will go into this Raja Yoga practice. So in Adi Yoga, we are not forcing them, because even if we force, it's not going to work. We are going to give them whatever they want. Of course, if they want something bad, we don't want to give that. Only good thing we will give, and they will go. That is what is the Adi Yoga. So Adi Yoga has a system which satisfies everybody, and all the elements of yoga, including Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, all these are included in the not only that, modern medicine, Ayurveda, psychology, management, all these things are included, integrated into Adi Yoga. So you have to study that. I'm not going to explain the Adi Yoga completely now. So this is the next milestone. This is called as 21st century yoga system. So I recommend you to study that there. Namaste. Now, as far as my speech is concerned, I want to only give this last topic to you, and I want you to understand this topic very well. To make this topic more clear, or what is called as spiritual science proof, I wrote this topic into sutra form, and that is called as, that topic is called as Ishvara Pranidhana. What I want you to understand is, first you understand this topic, and if you practice at all, you will come to know that Ishvara Pranidhan is the most superior yoga. If you want, you can also call it Bhakti Yoga if you like. Bhakti Yoga and Ishvara Pranidhan is almost same. Now you will tell me that Ishwar Pranidhan is described in Patanjali, and he is not using the word Bhakti Yoga. Ishwara Pranidhan in Patanjali, Ishwara Pranidhan is only 10% correct. It is mostly wrong. First thing is, Ishwar Pranidhan in Patanjali is defined at 3 places. It should be only defined at 1 place. Second is, he is saying Ishwara Pranidhanad Va means by doing only Ishwar Pranidhan, you can get all the benefits of Ashtanga Yoga. And he is saying is Ashtanga Yoga is meant for very difficult practitioners. So you can easily understand that if Ishwar Pranidhan is for easy practice and it gives the same thing as Ashtanga Yoga, even difficult practitioners will only do Ishwar Pranidhan. Why will they do difficult practice? If you are able to get Sony TV in one city for $5 and another city for $5,000, even rich people will buy it for $5. They will not buy it for $5,000. So Ishwar Pranidhanad Va is a wrong sutra. It should be Ishwar Pranidhanad Eva, means only by. But the problem is if you make Eva, then Ashtanga Yoga should not be described at all. And that is the correct. Ashtanga Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Raja Yoga or Hatha Yoga do not give you final goal. Only Ishwar Pranidhan gives final goal. That is why the entire Patanjali Yoga Sutra can be replaced by one single sutra called Ishwara Pranidhanad Eva. All other sutras are not required in the theory. Now, it is not possible because everybody has different psychology. But what I am saying is that do whatever you want. Ultimately, you will come to Ishwar Pranidhan. You have no choice. And this, why no choice is there, is described in my Ishwar Pranidhan Sutras. So, Ishwar Pranidhanas is the supreme yoga practice and is the final only yoga practice. But in this you have to understand certain points because I'm not going to describe everything. In Ishwar Pranidhan Sutras, what I did was, I took each of the yoga and I proved how Ishwar Pranidhan is must for every path. So, I just want you to give some salient points. One is, what is Ishwar? So, you have to describe what Ishwar is. Patanjali's definition is not enough. Klesha karma vipakasha yair aparamushta purusha vishesha Ishwara. Not enough. Ishwara is to be defined. What is Ishwar? Said, what is Pranidhan? Some people think that Pranidhan means I should give a lot of donation. No. Pranidhan means every day get up at 4 o'clock and watch the photos. No. Pranidhan means singing one mantra 108 times. No. All these are small Ishwar Pranidhan. But ultimate Ishwar Pranidhan is only one. That is surrender of ego. Unless you are able to surrender ego, you cannot do final Ishwar Pranidhan. So that's why you have to surrender ego and then only Ishwar is left. And this is the real Ishwar Pranidhan. Once you get here, you get the final goal. In Advaita Vedanta, Vedanta, Vishishta Advaita Vedanta, Dvaita Advaita Vedanta or Shuddha Advaita Vedanta, you will get this final goal. This is what I have described. Ishwar Pranidhan. Now, just to conclude this part, you will find that I told you that the most important spiritual text is Bhagavad Gita. It gives everything at one place. And that is why Jnaneshwar chose that one. And the last verse of Bhagavad Gita says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami ma shuchaha. That means give up all the practices. Only surrender to me completely. I will take care of all your problems and you will reach the final goal. The only problem in that is that to give up all the practices, you have to want only Ishwar. That is not possible. That's why I am saying that in Adi Yoga, do whatever practices you want, but don't forget Ishwar Pranidhan. At one time, Ishwar Pranidhan will go on increasing. And ultimately, you will be only in Ishwar Pranidhan. You will find that all the saints, those who are considered realize, they are all doing Ishwar Pranidhan only. So I will now sing one small prayer for welfare and finish. Thank you for listening. ॐ भद्रं कर्णेः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवांसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः ॐ स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ तन्मा अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. So thank you very much for listening to me. If you found something is worth, take it. If you found it's not worth, trash it. And I wish you all the best.